I'm going to start with the compliance issue. You've already heard that Pacific Hydro said we're not doing compliance testing. So they've got reports about it, so I'm not involved in those reports. This report was specific to the 3 dwellings. And what happens is at one point in the report, I actually state that for an exposed location, subject to the environments, there was no difference. Let's go next. So what happens is that you can look at this yourself in that this is another one of these shutdowns that we had. And what I've done is I've got 6, 8, 12, 4 and 8. That's what the arrows mean, and they're the lines. Now on a DBA basis, you've got a bit of problem about working outside, whether you can tell whether the wind farm's on or off. I mean, we had trouble, so I guess you guys might have trouble, and certainly inside the house where it's a flat line, you're not going to find anything because the meter's not measuring low enough. Next. Okay, if we go to 1/3 octaves, we've got this being 6 and then 8 o'clock, and the background level is the green line, and so if infrasound is from here down, or way over here, if you've got a good eyesight, the DBA level is over here. There's stuff all different, and you have trouble working out on that spectrum on a DBA basis any difference. Next. We then have 12 and 4. This is outside because that's normally where, for wind farm assessments, they do the work. Not much of a difference. This is the wind and causing other noises to lift up in the frequency. The blue's an LEQ, an energy average, and the red's an L10. Level exceeded for 10% of the time. These are all 10-minute samples. Next. So we get the 4 and 8 between on and off. And if we look at the background levels, which is the way they work out these regression lines, there's stuff all different that I could tell. Next. However, if we go back to the FFT, and we now look between 6, 8, 12, 4 and 8, can anybody see what's going on that when it's on it's a little bit different? That's what it's all about. Next. So we do inside the bedroom. Bedroom has a couple of resonances. Don't have a problem with that. That means it's got some echoes in itself. Next. No real pattern that you get. Still keep going. We'll put all this, go to the next one. And we get FFTs. Can anybody see the pattern again? It's all about patterns. If you look at the 6 o'clock one and you look at the 8 o'clock one, there's a signature here and there. It's not there, it's not there, and it's not there. That's the wind turbine signature. You won't find it in DBA because it's too low. Now, okay, the next one. Next, sorry. Okay, the regression method that they use, because the question is about compliance, looks at taking data over something like 2 weeks and doing L90 levels and then plotting it versus the hub height of the wind. The wind speed of the hub height. I'm getting a bit mixed up. Now, what it tends to do is it takes an average line through there. That average line is an average. In environmental acoustics, we normally look to see about a noise level reference to the background, being the repeated minimum level. Australian Standard 1055 used to say, before all the statistical hocus pocus, was that if a noise exceeds the background, it's likely to be annoying, and up to 5 was of marginal significance. So you'll find standards all around the country that look at background plus 5. Now, the problem is, and I'm quite happy to acknowledge it, that as the wind blows, then it will change the background level. Because when it's windier, the background level will be higher. Because we saw in the standard stuff, the microphone is measuring some noise from the wind because the microphone measures pressures. This is 3 months ago, not 2 weeks. It's not Cape Bridgewater, it's at Warborough, at a house at Warborough. And what I've done is I've taken all of the wind bin data and I've put it in individual speeds that the wind logger gives me. I've taken that data and I've then ranked it to get the 90th percentile. That is the bottom 10% of the data. So I can actually plot the 90th percentile of the background level. And that tells me, if I've got a wind at this speed, then that should be the background level. And that actually agrees to a certain point with that draft American standard. If you take the regression line, it tells you you're already above the background. So if you took a general environmental acoustics and you took this line as a starting point for a wind farm, you're basically already there at background plus 5. But what they do is they take 35 or 40, depending upon what your luck is in the draw, and background plus 5. So they're already starting up at a criteria which says on a noise basis we've got a problem. But the thing is that this is also measuring the wind in it, and it also measures the wind going in all sorts of different directions. In an industrial concept, you want to know what is the worst case scenario when the noise is coming from the factory back to the residents. When it goes the other way, well, good luck to them because it's quieter. But when it comes this way, you want to look at it. And in New South Wales, we have some statistical methods that we do, and they look for the level that's exceeded no more than 10% of the time, because that means for 90% of the time it's less than that. Next. So what we actually did is, this is the wind data for 3 months at this house at Warborough to show the different directions. And what you can do is you can group them into quadrants, 90 degrees, to do some plotting. Next. What we did on the data is we can take each of the quadrants, take it and look for the regression lines, and the regression lines are different. But that's an exposed position. Next. What I've said is, let's consider this. My drawing, so I'm not an artist. There's a house down here. There's a great big hill up here, and this is supposed to be a turbine, and they're not necessarily 20 degrees apart, so Peter, if I got it wrong, it's okay. When the wind blows this way, if this house doesn't get any wind, then it's not going to have wind noise, but it's going to get turbine noise. If the wind blows this way, then this house can have wind and turbine noise. Next. This is a house. The assessment said for this house here, there's a noise contour. There's a table for those that read, said different wind speeds, the highest it'll get to is 32 dBA. That's the prediction with all these turbines. Next. Okay, standing in the front yard of that very house. 5 o'clock, the background level was 30 dBA or about that. No wind, no turbines. A couple of hours later, standing in the same front yard, no wind, just turbine noise. It's a bit more than the 34 dBA that was predicted. And what I actually have that I've been using for a while is power output of the wind farm that actually tells me the wind farm was operating. So you get a trend that if you're in an isolated case, then the wind farm can give you the noise without the wind, but in an exposed location, which these 3 locations were, when the wind blows, boy does it blow. I mean, we had an anemometer at house 87 and we actually got a peak of 127 kilometres an hour. Our anemometer was still standing, so that was pretty good.